power of complex number in polar form, we have to use the DeMoivre's theorem, which is if z equals to r, cis theta, and n is the positive integer, the power, then what do? It is r to the nth power and cosine of what? N times theta plus I sine of n times theta. So how do you rewrite it with cis? It's r to the nth power, cis. Now what do? Multiply them. N theta. So the steps are write it in a polar form first. If they give you rectangular form, then you have to write it in polar form and then use the theorem and write it back to rectangular form, which is also called standard form. Okay. So let's look at this. So here they gave you a standard form. So first you have to convert into polar form. So where's 1 plus 1i? Draw it. Here's 1 and 1, isn't it? So what is the r then? Square root of 1 squared plus 1 squared, which is square root of 2. The r is square root of 2. If this is 1 and 1, what's the theta? Yep, 45, pi over 4. So then how do you rewrite this? This is r cis 45, but now we are raising it to what? To the fifth. So now you have to use the DeMoivre's theorem, which is r to the fifth root 2 to the fifth cis 45 times what? 5. So what is root 2 to the fifth? If you get confused, just write it out. Isn't it root 2 times root 2 times root 2 times root 2 and one more? 5 of these. So what does root 2 times root 2 become? 2. What does root 2 times root 2 become? 2. And what are you left with? Root 2. So it is 4 root 2. 4 root 2 cis. What's 45 times 5? This will be non-calculator, guys. What's 45 times 5? 225, because 45 times 2 is 90. So 4 of them will be 180. And for the fifth one, you add another 45. 225. So this is in polar form, but what was the original question given with? Rectangular form, so you have to put it back in rectangular form. So what's a rectangular form? You have to find x, which is 4 root 2 cosine of 225. So where's 225? Here, right? So it's 4 root 2. What's cosine of 225 on the third quadrant? Unit circle. But it's negative, right? So you multiply by negative root 2 over 2. So you get, what's root 2 times root 2? 2 divided by 2, they cancel each other. So I get negative 4 for x. Y. It's 4 root 2r sine of theta. What is the theta? 225. So at 225, what is y? Negative root 2 over 2. So it's 4 root 2 times negative root 2 over 2. Again, what's root 2 times root 2? 2 divided by 2 is gone. So I have negative 4. So how do you write it in a rectangular form? Negative 4 minus 4, I. Root 2 times root 2 is 2. And then you divide by 2, and we have negative here, so you get negative 4 for both. Third quadrant, they're both negative. Yes? That's the DeMoivre's theorem. N theta. N theta. 5 times theta. Okay? That's why we multiply by 5. So let's try this. Again, it's negative root 3 over 2. This one you can do it without a calculator as well. So where is it? Graph it first. Where's negative root 3 over 2 and negative half? Right here, right? That's the unit circle values, right? So that is 210, isn't it? Or you can say 7 pi over 6. Unit circle. Again, unit circle. You have to know the unit circle values. So if it's on the unit circle, what would be the radius? Should be 1, but let's double check. Square root of negative root 3 over 2 squared, same as positive root 3 over 2 squared, plus negative 1/2 squared, same as positive 1/2 squared, which is 3 over 4 plus 1 over 4. Square root of that, which is square root of 4 over 4, which is 1. So radius is 1. What's the angle? This time let's use the radian. 7 pi over 6 is radian. So this is same thing as what? 1 cis 7 pi over 6, but now we are raising it to what? 3. So by DeMoivre's theorem, what do you do with the radius? It's 1 to the third. Raise it to the n. Cis, and now what do you do with 7 pi over 6? You multiply by n, which is 3. So that is 1 cis 7 pi over 2. But again, it was given in a rectangular form, so we have to go back to the rectangular form. So x is what? X equals to 1 radius cosine of 7 pi over 2. Let's draw it. Where's 7 pi over 2? So this is pi over 2, pi, 3 pi over 2, 4 pi over 2, 5 pi over 2, 6 pi over 2, 7 pi over 2. So it's right here. Right? That's a coterminal angle. It's 3 pi over 2. And what's the radius? 1. So what is x of this? X is 0 and y is negative 1. So what is your final answer? 0 plus negative 1i. So it is just negative I.